The Black Widow Killer, Smoky Mountain Mysteries. Nestled deep in the heart of the Smoky Mountains lies a quiet, unassuming hamlet known as Smoky Cove. The locals would often say that the mists that clung to the hills and valleys concealed secrets older than the trees. But no secret was as chilling nor as recent as the tale of Clara Whitaker, the woman who came to be known as the Black Widow of Smoky Cove. Clara Whitaker had always been a striking figure in the community, with raven black hair cascading down her back, piercing blue eyes, and an engaging smile that seemed to hold 1,000 unspoken stories. She drew both admiration and suspicion. She lived in a quaint wooden cabin on the edge of town, its exterior adorned with lush ivy and vibrant wildflowers. To the townsfolk, Clara was a peculiar mix of charm and mystery, a healer who brewed herbal recipes and remedies, and a storyteller whose tales of mountain lore mesmerized all who listened. But behind the veil of her charisma lay a much darker truth. Clara's first husband, Samuel, was a woodsman known for his rugged demeanor and hearty laugh. They married in the spring of 1910, and for a time their love seemed idyllic as the mountain landscape. However, tragedy struck less than a year later when Samuel fell from a steep cliff while foraging for medicinal herbs. The community mourned his loss, offering their condolences to Clara, who seemed utterly devastated. Life moved on as it always does, and Clara remarried within 2 years. Her second husband, Henry, was a quiet schoolteacher who often quoted poetry to Clara beneath the starry skies. Their union lasted longer but ended no less tragically. Henry succumbed to a mysterious illness that baffled even the local doctor. His symptoms, violent vomiting, confusion, and eventually paralysis, were dismissed as a result of spoiled food or bad water. By the time Clara married her third husband, John, whispers had begun to circulate. John was a traveling merchant who doted on Clara, showering her with gifts and proclaiming her the love of his life. But just as the leaves turned crimson and gold, John's life was cut short when his horse spooked near a ravine, plunging both rider and animal to their deaths. Three husbands lost to tragedy in less than a decade. While Smoky Cove's residents were no strangers to hardship, the consequences surrounding Clara's life grew too glaring to ignore. Yet each time a tragedy occurred, Clara mourned with such convincing sorrow that suspicions waned. Her fourth husband, Robert, was a blacksmith with a robust build and a jovial nature. Unlike the others, Robert's death was not instantaneous but prolonged. He developed a strange ailment similar to Henry's, a wasting sickness that left him bedridden. Clara tended to him with apparent devotion, feeding him broths and administering her herbal recipes. When Robert finally passed, the town's doctor, growing uneasy, led him to confide in the sheriff, although there was no evidence pointed to foul play. Clara's fifth and final husband, Elijah, was a widower who moved to Smoky Cove with his young daughter. Elijah was wary of Clara at first, but eventually succumbed to her charm. They married in a quiet ceremony, and for a brief period it seemed the pattern of misfortune had been broken. Then one stormy night Elijah was found lifeless in his bed. His daughter, too young to fully comprehend the events, was sent to live with relatives, and Clara once again donned her widow's veil. By now, Clara's reputation had taken on an almost supernatural aura. Some whispered that she was cursed, while others claimed she was a witch. It was the town doctor, Dr. Morton, who finally pressed for an investigation. Sheriff Grayson, a pragmatic man who believed in facts over folklore, initially resisted, but the cumulative weight of five dead husbands, each under unusual circumstances, was impossible to ignore. Exhumations were ordered for Henry and Robert, whose deaths had raised the most suspicion. When the remains were examined, traces of arsenic were discovered in their bones. The finding was enough to warrant Clara's arrest. The trial of Clara Whitaker drew crowds from neighboring towns, all eager to catch a glimpse of the infamous Black Widow. Clara maintained her innocence, her composure unbroken, even as the prosecution painted a damning portrait of a woman driven by greed and malice. They argued that Clara had poisoned her husbands to claim their modest inheritance, though the sums were far from extravagant. The defense countered with the testimony from friends and neighbors who spoke of Clara's generosity and kind heart. They argued that the deaths were tragic coincidences, exacerbated by the harsh realities of mountain life. But the evidence, the arsenic, the pattern of deaths, the suspicious timing, proved to be too compelling. After weeks of deliberation, the jury found Clara guilty of multiple counts of murder. She was sentenced to death by hanging, a punishment carried out on a foggy morning in autumn. As she stood on the gallows, Clara's last words echoed through the valley: "I am not what you think I am. The mountains know the truth." Even after her death, Clara's story remained a source of fascination and fear. Some claimed to see her ghost wandering the trails near her cabin, her dark hair billowing out like smoke in the wind. Others avoided the area altogether, unwilling to risk invoking the wrath of the Black Widow. Years later, Clara's cabin was left to decay, its ivy covered walls a silent monument to her infamy. But her tale lives on, passed on through generations. It's both a cautionary story and a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind even the most captivating smiles. Some years after Clara's death, rumors began to surface about hidden journals discovered in her cabin. A group of adventurous teenagers claimed to have found an old trunk containing faded letters and cryptic notes. The journals allegedly detailed Clara's experiments with herbal poisons and hinted at a troubled childhood that may have shaped her into the person she became. The authenticity of these journals remains disputed, but they have fueled endless speculation. Was Clara a cold blooded killer, or was she a victim of circumstance and misunderstanding? The questions linger, much like the mist that envelops Smoky Cove. Today, Smoky Cove attracts tourists and ghost hunters drawn by the legend of the Black Widow. Guided tours lead visitors to Clara's overgrown cabin where they can hear retellings of her infamous life. Some claim to hear whispers on the wind, while others leave offering of flowers and trinkets as though appeasing a restless spirit. Despite the passage of time, the story of Clara Whitaker serves as a poignant reminder of the fine line between folklore and reality and the enduring power of a story to captivate and haunt those who hear it. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe to our channel, Smoky Mountain Mysteries. Thank you.